Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. My name is David Steele, and I'm your host today. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day and is going to have a great weekend. We've got a big, not only show today, but we've got a big show coming up next week and everything else. And that, of course, so as I've been doing for the past 3 or 4 weeks now, um, we do have a little film coming out next week. It's going to be on Wednesday, the 12th, and that's only 5 days away. Um, and that's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So, what I've been doing for the past multiple weeks 3, 4, 5 weeks is I have been going back and I've been watching every single Mission Impossible movie. Started almost 6 weeks ago, a little over 6 weeks ago. I actually put out the first couple during Comic Con when it was announced and all the footage. I sat down and watched, 96 all the way up to, and this is with the last one. So I did Rogue Nation last week. And of course, this one is the final one in the series up till this point. This is the sixth film in the franchise. It is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I'm sorry, Mission Impossible Fallout. I got Dead Reckoning on my mind. So this is one of those amazing movies. I'd seen it a couple times, but I had really forgotten what kind of scale it was, how big it was, the actors in it, everything else. And it's amazing. And so before I came on today, I took thorough notes. This is going to be a long stream, guys. So I hope you guys stay with me. But I was taking notes. I even sat down and watched the 1 hour behind the scenes video about this movie. This movie, I gotta say, what Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie and everybody else did was remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And so, we haven't had this. So this actually came out, believe it or not, 5 years ago. It was 2018 this came out. But it just, what they did and how they did it, and well, I'm going to get into all of the stuff in a couple of minutes, but it's just unbelievable. So just a few facts about it, as I, have always done prior to starting the stream. So this, as I said, was done 5 years ago, 2018. It made $786 million total worldwide. Only two, and I say only compared to everything else, 220 million here in the States and 566 overseas. It had a production budget of $178 million, which, by the way, is relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things. All time, this is the 82nd highest international box office of all time. And just outside the top 100. So, that's something to be said there. So, but this was a quite long. This movie was quite long. It was 147 minutes. And so, we have this film that's coming out, in a couple days, and it's almost the same length. And, it's interesting because if you go back and look at the original 1996 Mission Impossible film and what that did and how long that was, you've definitely seen the length of the films grow. And it's unbelievable in that particular thing. So just to, a little backtracking real quick. Speaking of, so it has grossed to date. It has grossed almost a little over $3.5 billion. Okay, in 6 films. We're going to be getting 7 in a couple days. So this was the highest production budget, 178 million, and it actually opened at 61.2 million, going on to, as I said, gross 786 million worldwide. Its averaged budget is $159 million. Its average domestic weekend. Now, when I say average, I'm averaging all of the films going back to all the way 1996. Was 192.4 million. Okay, and its averaged worldwide box office is a little under $600 million, which is astounding. So, as I said, if you go back all the way to the original Mission Impossible, that only had it, and I say only, the production budget was $80 million, and that ended up making $457 million. And you have to look at the time there too, because as I've said in the past, we were really in a point where there were a lot of television shows that were being made. I mean, you had Beverly Hillbillies, you had the Flintstones, you had the Addams Family, you had, I think Get Smart was made right around that time as well, and they weren't good. And when Tom Cruise really started this production company all the way back in '96, that was what he wanted to do. He had access to a whole Paramount library, and this is what he wanted to do. And as there have been 3 or 4 staples with all of these films, okay, the first is the action. That the action is just top-notch, unprecedented, unparalleled action. Okay. And I've said this over and over and over. Tom Cruise, when it comes to action, okay, he wants to do it practical. I mean, he's doing death-defying things. That's why I've always said and argued he is the last movie star we have. Okay, DiCaprio is a different kind of movie star. Okay, but if you want to call him an action, but see, the thing about Cruise is he has range. Okay, he can do a comedy like Tropic Thunder. His best dramatic work is his best work is dramatic. Whether you're talking about Rain Man, The Last Samurai, Magnolia, Boys on 4th of July. The last 2 or 3 films I just named, he's gotten Academy Award nominations. With that all being said, he wants to do it. So the action is the first thing. The second thing is the story. You say, well, it could be, just a running, they're like running episodes. Not necessarily. Because we've had in the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple of films that were shown to be linear. Okay. Starting out with Ghost Protocol, then with Rogue Nation. Okay. And so, actually, I'm sorry, Rogue Nation, now Fallout. So that being said, that second is the story. Okay. The third is because at the end of the day, Mission Impossible was about gadgets, spy things. What are they using? So they're about spy little gadgets. Okay. Whether it's the thing that Bendy uses to track Ethan running, or whether it's the camera in the cell where they're watching Lane, or whatever it is, picking a lock. Okay. And the fourth is really the stunts. Okay. If you've watched all the Mission Impossibles as I have and millions of others have had over the past period of time, the one thing you will see about this film and this franchise is the stunts have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And whether it's hanging off the side of the tallest building in the world, whether it's hanging off of an Airbus in the beginning of Ghost Protocol, whether it's what he's just literally hanging off a helicopter here in Fallout, whatever it is, it's the unbelievable nature. And of course, we've got probably arguably the biggest stunt of them all in Dead Reckoning Part 1, when he jumps off the plane, when he jumps off the cliff. But he's practical, and that's the thing. And that's why these films have grossed $3.5 billion. Anyways, overall, okay, and at the end of the stream here, I'm going to be talking about my personal ranking, and everybody's is different up until this point. I mean, once Ghost Protocol comes in, or I keep saying Ghost Protocol, guys, I'm sorry. Once Dead Reckoning comes in, then I will slide that one in, and we'll do that. But, yeah, so all of that being said, okay, this is what it is. I'm going to be talking about Mission Impossible Fallout today and how well this was done. So let's dive in. So I've talked about the numbers, which can be boring, but a necessary thing. So let's talk about the cast. Okay, the cast, of course, is an intricate part of this whole thing. Okay, so going left to right, okay, you have the doctor. I forgot, I don't know his name off the top of my head. Um, but you have the doctor that plays Julie's husband at the end of the film. You, of course, have Academy Award nominee Angela Bassett. You then have to her right Vanessa Kirby, which I didn't know there was something about her that I thought was a spoiler when I saw it at the world premiere, and I picked up on it and was talking with somebody, and I picked up on it when I watched the film. So, but we have Vanessa Kirby, okay. Then of course we have the the man himself, Tom Cruise. To his right, we have Vin Rames. And by the way, and I know I've repeated this in the past, those two actors are the only two to appear in every single film. Something to keep in mind. Um, then to his right, of course, we have the beautiful Rebecca Ferguson, who plays uh, the Asian. I can't couldn't pronounce her name for a minute, but so we have Rebecca Ferguson. To her to her right, we have the villain Solomon Lane, played by one Sean Harris, who's fantastic in this movie. I mean, when Rogue Nation was really his movie, he has Sean Harris does have some lines. It's not as many, but we definitely get to. And by the way, and I'll touch on this, later on too. Everybody has their moments. So Sean Harris, we have there as Solomon Lane, and of course to finish it off, we have one Melissa Monahan and Michelle Monahan. I stand corrected, it's Michelle Monahan, but she was fantastic, and how they're able to integrate and put everything in there is just unbelievable. But going back, speaking of the cast, I really want to touch upon the women, because the women of this film really make it who they are. Okay, okay. So once again, far left is Vanessa Kirby. We're introduced to her. She's the White Widow um, at the party, and she was fantastic. She really, really was fantastic in this movie, and it was just awesome. Of course, we have Angela Bassett playing, CIA director, uh, the CIA director. Okay, we have, Rebecca Ferguson in the middle, and we have Michelle Monaghan, who's fantastic, even though she had a small role. And I have a sneaking suspicion of where they're going to do it. So, but all the cast aside and everything else, I want to jump into the film right now. So I love how they start this film off. So one of the other key little components is that how he even gets his mission. So it's one of those things, whether it's, we go back to the sunglasses and Mission Impossible 2, or we have the camera, or we have, we've had the phone that he goes protocol, or, we had the cassette at the end of the original Mission Impossible. So there's a variety of different things. So in this particular, I love, so he's one of the first shots we see is Ethan Hunt, right? Or Tom Cruise playing Ethan Hunt, and he hears a knock at the door. And so he gets up and he walks down the stairs, but the way you see it, you're just seeing, so the light is all the way back, and you're just seeing the silhouette descend out of the stairs. And he opens the door, and there's a man who's basically, he's dressed in like a courier type of thing. And so you see him descend down the stairs, and then all you see is silhouette, and you see a man standing there in the pouring rain, and basically he asks him a question, and what Ethan says is awesome. He says, "A storm is coming," and then he says, "I am the storm." So he gets the mission. So the mission, it was put in Homer's Odyssey, and that was relevant too because, watching the behind the scenes stuff, he was talking about how this whole franchise, going back all the way to 1996, was a journey. And this is what the book really represents. It's the journey of him and everybody else with this franchise. And of course, they have the unique way of doing that and that's basically seeing, you know, how he was going to get verified. So of course, the little recorder pops up. It's a video thing right there in the top right hand corner where the page number might be. You're going to have a little blood analyzer to make sure it is him. So very, very cool. That was just fascinating. So he gets the mission about this there are 3 plutonium nuclear cores. They're out in the wind. And so at this point, what ends up happening is he then has to go to Berlin. So in Berlin, okay, we see everything is going well. And then Luther gets ambushed. And he's held by gunpoint. So that, Ethan is with the meeting, and what ends up happening is it goes south. There's a shootout. So basically, Luther's held hostage, and he has a choice. So that little thing you see back there in the back corner is a car. So he can either, and this is what's known as your inciting incident, okay? And the plutonium cores are what's known as the MacGuffin. Okay, the MacGuffin is basically what both the hero and the enemy want. And what ends up happening is he has a choice to basically get away scot-free and sacrifice his friend, or save his friend and risk going to losing the plutonium. And he ends up shooting Luther. But of course, he has a vest on, so he's saved. And that being said, that just shows you the selflessness or the willingness for him that his life is meaningless, to the extent of he's always going to value his team over himself. Always. And we've seen this countless times, whether it's Benji with the bomb, okay, in Rogue Nation, whether it's Luther here. And by the way, each individual character throughout the franchise has been in dire trouble in some way or the other. Okay, I mean, in Rogue Nation, it was Benji. Here it was Luther. I mean, so in other scenarios, there have been situations in which Ethan has basically said, "No, my team is better, is bigger than me," and that's a big thing. And so, subsequently, they lose the plutonium, and they have to figure out what's going on. At which point, they find a nuclear scientist, okay, and they basically this scene was awesome. I loved how they duped the scientists into the mock hospital room, right? So they get the scientists, they knock them out, and Luther and Ethan are basically interrogating him. And so in the room, the television is on, CNN, and so at that point they say, okay, there were 3 nuclear blasts. Okay, one in Jerusalem, one in Mecca, and one somewhere else. And at that point, they said, well, we need the passcode because that has the schematics of the bomb on it. So they were like, okay, fine. Have them read the manifesto. Okay, so the manifesto. So, it basically was given the man Wolf Blitzer of CNN fame. Fantastic journalist. I love watching him every day on the Situation Room. Anyways, so he then begins to read it. And of course, the scientist thinks he's won, right? He thinks he's won. And subsequently, all the while, Ethan basically makes a phone call. He says, okay. And he's calling, says, yeah, this is what's going on. Okay, go. And all the walls collapse. And he's like, well, what's going on? because he thinks he's been there 2 weeks and it's only been 2 hours. And subsequently, what ends up happening is that's Benji in that mask and posing as Wolf Blitzer. And they got the passcode for the schematics. Fantastic stuff. And that's a perfect example to show you about the spy aspect of Mission Impossible, because that's what it is, right? I mean, in Mission Impossible 2, John Woo and overused the mask. That was used almost, I think, close to 8. I counted. I think it was 7 or 8 times, and it got really repetitive. Not only did it get repetitive, but it got very lackluster. It didn't have the same effect of this disguise. It was used a couple of times here, but it worked very well. So once that's done, okay, they have the plans. Okay, now they have to go recover this. And by the way, once that happens, then we go into the opening sequence. That was 16 minutes in, by the way, guys. 16 minutes in. And it was just done fabulously. I mean, that's another animation sequence that, bang, 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 bang. 16. So they give you a good chunk of this movie. Okay, this movie is 2 hours and 47 minutes with credits, but really about a 2 hour and 40-minute movie. They get you involved in the story. And then 16 minutes in, boom, the credits start. And it's like, okay, this is how you need to do it. And that's when what they're doing really is like they're taking a page out of James Bond books, the James Bond franchise. In every single Bond movie you've watched over the past, I would say, 10 years, Daniel Craig, what you've seen is what they do is they start the movie immediately with action. Okay? Take Skyfall, which, by the way, guys, I will be doing for the July Perfect movie. I will be doing Skyfall. But Skyfall is a perfect example. We have that whole thing on the train. And you have that chase and everything else. And then Moneypenny has to take the shot and shoots Bond. And that's about 10 or 15 minutes into the film. And then, of course, you have the opening sequence. It's the same premise here. Get the audience involved, then go with the opening sequence, okay? And now people are in. But if you just start it with the title and everything, people are like, all right, fine, let's go. So there's something to be said there. And once that happens, okay, now they have to go all the way in the CIA and everything else. And so that being said, you have Erica Sloan. So she is the leader of the CIA, because Alec Baldwin now, by the way, came back because he, at the end of the last film, was now the CIA director. So they're on the tarmac, ready to go they have this intel, and they're ready to go get this person. And Erica says, shut it down. So this is when we have our introduction to Walker, who's played by, which, by the way, he was not pictured there, Henry Cavill, who did a really good job for this. I mean, there was some, but I mean, he brought the physicality. I mean, they both brought the physicality, but Walker, when you have an opponent, okay, a villain, you usually want to have him either A, be physical, or B, have more mental, you either want to match physicality with them, or you want to match wits with them. In this case, it was physicality. And Walker and Henry Cavill really brought that. So they go to the, like I said, it was a really powerhouse scene between them. I really enjoyed it. So then, okay, they're on the plane. And so and by the way, guys, I'm going to put the link in the description for you guys. What they did to actually do the halo jump. So I always think, so anybody who's not from, a couple of things about the jump. Number one, there were 2 sequences done shot in IMAX. This was one of them. The helicopter sequence at the end was the other. what and like I said, when you watch the behind the scenes stuff, and I'll put the description, the video, the link in the description box. But when you sit down and watch this is why I say Tom Cruise is the only man on in Hollywood that does this. He's the last movie star we have. Okay, um, what he went through to train for this and to make sure everything went right and everything went perfect. And so the Halo sequence had to be shot in 3 parts. This is, but he had to train quite a long time just to get to the point where he could do the jumps. This is why these movies take a couple of years to make, right? Um, unbelievable, unbelievable, and I just I have the utmost respect for Tom Cruise and what he does because he does it right. And it's an amazing thing. So, that all being said, that being said, he just, so the jump he does from, I think it was like 25,000 feet. So he ends up landing. So by the way, this was the first shot. Okay. So as I said, this had to be done in 3 different sequences. So the first one was him jumping out of the plane, okay, and falling. And I'm not going to bore you with all the facts, but his face could only be a certain distance from the camera lens. Okay. Then, and they only had a couple minutes per day. So they were doing multiple jumps and everything else. Once that was done, okay, so then it goes over here. And by the way, this had to be done at night. So they used a little CGI to change things up. And then the second one was the free fall and having to catch Walker and everything else because he loses his oxygen. And so, okay, he gets hit by lightning. And then the other thing I love about this is the comedy. The comedy is fantastic. And so, we see Cruise there land at the end, and he's like, oh, did you lose your oxygen? Meanwhile, he's the one that, he almost died trying to save him. You go back to that scene in Ghost Protocol when he's, he's almost ready to die and everybody's hanging out the window. And then Benji runs in and says, oh man, I didn't think I was going to make it. You have that juxtaposition of comedy with it. It's just spot on. And it's not used too much. And Benji does get some, he gets some work too. And that's the cool thing too. He's not just there for comic relief. And I think that's important to see. But yeah, the Halo jump, and like I said, when you guys watch this and you watch it back, knowing what he had to do, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible in how it's done. So yeah. So I've got a lot of pictures here. So because this is not only is this a long film, but I really wanted to walk you guys through everything. So yeah, like I said though, this film is some of the best action sequences ever put on film. And there is a reason why Tom Cruise is who he is. And one of the other things I noticed about this film, as I'm putting this stuff on here, one of the other things I noticed about this film was the cinematography. The cinematography in this film is some of the best I've ever seen. And it's just, not only with the action sequences, because they take such a long time to develop, but just the establishing shots. The establishing shots in themselves. So once they land, okay, and they get inside the place where they're going to meet the widow, um, they are going after this guy named John Locke. And I'm once again, for everybody that watches, I'm not going to walk beat by beat, but I do have a lot of notes here. So the fight sequence. This fight sequence is incredible. Okay. One of the coolest fight sequences you're ever going to see. I mean, the hand to hand, the editing, the crashing into things, the the physicality of it was just unbelievable and really, really worked. And this is where we have Ilsa come in and basically save Ethan. And so, this is where everything is going. But it's just unbelievable. So when they actually meet, and by the way, here's what I didn't know about this, okay? And I thought this was a spoiler, and it's not. When we first meet the White Widow, okay? So, of course, Ethan is posing as Jean Larc. I didn't realize this, that that's Vanessa. So that is the White Widow is Vanessa Redgrave's daughter. So that not literally, okay. So when she's talking, when Ethan enters the room, she ends up talking about her mother, Max. I went, oh wow. So of course the callback. Anybody who's familiar with the franchise knows that in the very first film, okay, that Vanessa Redgrave actually played Maxine. Max was her cover, and she was an arms dealer. So she was the White Widow was actually her daughter. I didn't know that. I was talking with somebody that I said, "Isn't that a spoiler?" Because the reason I know that now is because Vanessa Kirby had said something during the world premiere I watched, and I went, "Ooh, could that be a spoiler?" And so I thought of it, but that's a cool callback. And that just goes to show you how they like to do everything full circuit and make the story go around. And I really, really like that. That's her daughter. That's awesome. So, they end up finding out, so the visuals to walking out of the party, I got to say, like I said before, the visuals, like walking out, were incredible. The whole nightclub sequence. It really reminded me of, and I'm going to bring the photograph up here for you guys. It really reminded me of Collateral. So this is the nightclub. This is the nightclub shot. There were many of the nightclub, but this one, when she's about ready to walk in, so she's about ready to walk in. She's trying to stop Ethan. I mean, the visuals here are just stunning. And it's unbelievable how they do it. So this is right before, as I said, they go in to meet the White Widow. And as I said, Vanessa Kirby was incredible playing this role. And so while this had the I mean, look, at the end of the day, you don't really expect Mission Impossible movies to have a lot of great dialogue and action and everything else, but this one did. So yeah, there's a big motorcycle chase, and in which basically they're trying to get away from Ilsa, and then they have this meeting. And the meeting to start. So anybody who's seen the movie obviously knows the cinematography, what they did, and how they showed Paris, and how they showed the Eiffel Tower, and There's a shot here, a couple of shots here that are just amazing. Okay. This is the established shot of this. Okay. This is unbelievable. Okay. This is the establishing shot of when Walker and Erica are going to go meet. And look at that. That is stunning. And then this is the second shot, like right after it. But it's just stunning in how they did it. You see the whole landscape, the Eiffel Tower there, which is magnificent. But yeah, so that being said, the cinematography really came through. And so I said earlier that everybody was going to have their moments. Okay. This scene in which Walker is trying to convince Sloane that Hunt is John Lark was really his moment. That was really his moment of shining and saying, look, this is why I think he is. Here's a dossier, everything else. It's just incredible stuff. That being said, I love the visuals in this movie. They're amazing. And I think that when you have something that does something that well, it's very difficult to top. That being said, like I said, going back to this scene here where they're meeting, you just see the row of trees, right? And then, you know, Ilsa turns her head, sees Ethan, and they both walk in. And it's just gorgeous. The cinematography just is stupendous and amazing. And it's shocking, really. It never gets nominated, right? But I mean, even the editing and the whole motorcycle scene, it's unbelievable how they do that. And even Vin Rames has his moment, okay? And that there's something to be said about that too, because you know, there's something to be said about that and how it's done. And I think that that's what McQuarrie and Tom Cruise and everybody was trying to do. He was trying to give everybody their own moment. And I think that was extremely, extremely important. But getting back to one of the other scenes, it's so as I said, so this is so the shot here. This is one of the most amazing shots from that. So let's move on real quick. But like I said before, the motorcycle chase, the action was just unbelievable. Okay, so essentially, they go through, they find that Walker is Lark, and then he escapes, and then he ends up going to Kashmir, which he meets Julia again, which was really nice to see her, and then the whole helicopter sequence. Okay, we got to talk about this. So this was the first shot. This is when he's about ready to jump on. And this is Cruise. This is not a stuntman. This is Tom Cruise doing this. And once again, I'll put the link in the description about I recommend you guys watch the behind the scenes because you'll get a bigger and better appreciation of all these stunts. So he's hanging off the bottom of this helicopter. And when you're that high up in the air. So this was actually shot in New Zealand. But it's just amazing. And here's the next shot of it. I mean, my God, look at that. So you're having 3 or 4 helicopters in the air. You're having the one with the payload. You're having the one in front. You're having the one with the camera, okay? And then you have a medvac, just in case. So there's 4 different ones. And this just goes through, and the chase sequence is unbelievable. Until and then they crash, and then of course you have the final fight. And the fight is just, this is after, Walker gets killed, and of course they're racing against the clock. And by the way, the cross-cutting too was fantastic. I wanted, once again, it goes back to the editing, right? Because they have to cut the wire at the same time, and he has to get this, and So everything's coming to a head. And so the rock climbing, I did notice that. So what they did too is in this film, they took elements of every other movie, okay, and they applied it to this movie. Tom said it behind the scenes footage that, excuse me, this was a basically a journey, and that's why they picked Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey. And it was one of those things where when you see it, it's unbelievable. Um, all that being said, so he eventually he gets the detonator and saves everybody. But it's just how this is done. There's nothing else. There is no other film, and I can't. I cannot even imagine what they're going to be doing for Dead Reckoning Part One. I mean, we've seen some of the things, with the behind the scenes featurettes and everything else, but oh my! And there's two more left. We have this one coming out this upcoming week, and then this looks everything. And this is why I keep saying it, guys. We're gonna miss Tom Cruise when he's gone, right? Because there's nobody else that will do this. I mean, Keanu Reeves is the closest thing we have with John Wick, but even he doesn't take the necessary things, okay? And there's a reason why this franchise has made $3.5 billion over 8 pictures. Everybody has said Dead Reckoning is some of the best cinema they've seen all year, and I can't wait for this. I am so excited. I've been pushing this ever since February, March. They've been shooting. This took 3 years to shoot, partially because of COVID, but still. I mean, the reason why it takes so long is because they are planning everything out. And the stunts you see are all practical and everything else. And some of the stuff has never been done before. So it's an experiment on the fly. I mean, not even pictured there is Haley Atwell, is, Isa Gonzalez, Palm Clemenoff, Vanessa Kirby. So just in that scene alone, just in that shot alone, you're getting only those 4. Those are the good guys, if you will. This just looks unbelievable. I can't wait for Monday. So I will be going to see Dead Reckoning on Monday in IMAX, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm telling you guys, because even watching the trailer, like going to see what did I just go see the other day? The movie I went to go see the other day. Oh, Indiana Jones. Just watching that in IMAX, just the trailer was unbelievable. So I can't even imagine what almost 3 hours of this is going to be like. So, but yeah, so that is Fallout. So it's one of those movies that I think arguably could be the best in the franchise. I mean, if I had to do a ranking today prior to seeing Dead Reckoning, I would probably put Fallout at 1, just because the nature of the stunts are just incredible. The halo jump, the helicopter, the motorcycle, it's just nonstop. It's just nonstop going. So I would put Fallout at number 1. I would probably put Mission Impossible 3, maybe Ghost Protocol at 2, just because, I mean, it is the tallest building in the world. And he's doing all that stuff practically. And by the way, I'm not basing this on stunts. I'm just saying story and everything else. And that really set up Rogue Nation. Then I would probably go Mission Impossible 3, because I love Philip Seymour Hoffman as Owen Davey. Love him as that. He's an incredible incredible villain. I think right now he was the second best villain. Walker was probably, and once again, this could all change. Um, so, but Owen Davies was amazing. Philip Seymour Hoffman was awesome as Owen Davies. So I would put that at 3. I would then put Mission Impossible at 4 because that really started the whole thing. And that was, um, I would put, which one am I missing? I would put Mission Impossible 2, the very last one. So, Ghost Protocol, Fallout, Rogue Nation. Oh, I put Rogue Nation as 5 because it was good, but it wasn't great. And by the way, Solomon Lane's really good too. I mean, Sean Harris playing Solomon Lane. That's the thing. Okay, getting back to what I was saying about that real quick. Every single person has their moment. So whether it's Henry Cavill talking to Sloane in front of the Eiffel Tower, okay, whether it's this shot here, whether it's Sean Harris having his moment when they're removing the microwave emitter, he has a soliloquy, whether it's Vin Rames talking to Ilsa, basically saying how Ethan feels, but he'll never say it to her, okay, whether it's, a couple of other people. I mean, Erica in the beginning with Angela Bassett talking to Alec Baldwin, that powerhouse scene I was telling you guys about, that was really both of their scenes. So that was the main thing. Everybody had their moment, and that was important. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a reason why this made almost $800 million. So that's my take of the film. Okay, amazing film. I think, and this is just my hot take, and I've said it before, I think Dead Reckoning has a shot to not only get best production design, well, maybe not best, but definitely a best editing nomination. I think it could get a best screenplay nomination. But I'll tell you the one I think it really will get. And I'm not bluffing when I say this, guys. It's best picture. I think Dead Reckoning right now, I mean, you're going to have a couple of locks. Okay. You're going to have a couple of absolute spot on locks for best picture. You're going to have Killers of the Flower Moon. You're going to have Oppenheimer. You're going to have, probably Dune in there. I could see the Academy giving Best Picture nominees. Now, obviously, he has no chance of winning, but I could see it. I could. And think about it. They nominated 2 sequels last year, Top Gun Maverick and Avatar: The Way of Water. Why not? I think also that this movie, believe it or not, has a shot to make $1 billion. I really do. If Fallout made 796, okay, I'll double check that right now. Yeah, 786. I stand corrected. If Fallout made $786 million, I truly, truly believe this is a shot of make $1 billion. I really do. Because the thing is, this was in everybody's top 5 anticipated movies. If you look at the top 5 anticipated movies, okay, you had Guardians of the Galaxy, which has made over 850. Okay. You had The Flash, which has been an unmitigated disaster. We won't talk about that. You had Barbie, which is yet to be released. Okay. You had Mission Impossible. And then you can throw any of the other, whether it's Killers of the Flower Moon or Dune or whatever in there. I really think that this is a shot at $1 billion. And it depends on, right now it's tracking between $85 to $90 million. I really do believe with these fan screenings, people are going to go back and watch this again. And the word of mouth, those 2 days are going to be unbelievable. And that being said, I think it has a shot at $100 million opening weekend. The last film to do that, of course, was Guardians. So, I mean, you have to go all the way back to March and April, really April for Mario, but that had a 5-day weekend or a 5-day opening. It looked just like this. So, anyways, guys, yeah. So that is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, or Mission Impossible Fallout. I'm so excited about Dead Reckoning. I keep saying it, but yeah. So that's Mission Impossible Fallout. Couple of things, couple of programming notes. So number one, I am going to go see Fallout on Monday. The spoiler cast for that is going to be on probably Saturday. Okay, I want everybody a chance to go see this. So come back here next Saturday, okay, which is going to be the 15th. So it's going to be the 15th, okay? Come back here on the 15th, and I'll remind you guys via community posts and everything else. And that way you guys we can all talk about Dead Reckoning together. That's number one. Number two, the perfect movies, as I said earlier, it's going to be Skyfall. So I'm going to do Skyfall for that. Okay. I'm still in the process of working out what I want to do for Mob Mondays and Rewatch Wednesdays. But when I know, I will definitely let you guys know. So anybody that wants to support me in a couple different ways, they can either come in here, if they like what they see, drop a super chat. Another one is going to the store. I've got mugs there, I've got T-shirts, I've got hoodies, all sorts of stuff. The other thing too is if you want to get exclusive content, and that's where you can find this is on Patreon. Is so there's two levels. There's a $5 level and there's a $10 level. So $5 gets you Mob Mondays. Every single month, I will be putting up a new mob movie, whether it's Godfather, Scarface. Right up there, we have The Departed and Goodfellas right now. I'll be doing another one this month. Or the other one is Rewatch Wednesdays. Rewatch Wednesdays is $10 a month, and that you get both of them. Up there right now is Steve Jobs in Training Day. So I'm not putting these on the channel, guys. Okay, those are only exclusive to Patreon. So if you want to go get those, you can go watch those there. And yeah, so there's a ton of stuff coming up on the channel. We got, as I said, the spoiler cast for that. In a couple weeks, we got Barbie, guys. We got Oppenheimer. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I would like to do a double feature, and we'll see how that goes. So, but yeah, so as I said, this stream was a little longer because, like I said, the movie was long, but I had a lot to talk to you guys about. And so, anyways, but in all honesty, guys, I want to get your thoughts and opinions of this. So please, I know I'm going off for almost an hour. Drop your comments in the comments box, okay? Please, because that's going to tell me what you think and everything else. And if you do, guys, if you do nothing else, please hit that like and subscribe button. Please. Because what that does is it tells me you like the content. It also tells me that you enjoy the content, but you want more of it. So what I've decided to do, what I think I'm going to decide to do is, because the reception has been very well for Mission Impossible, I think we're going to make this Franchise Fridays. So starting probably either next week or the week after, I have to figure out which franchise. I might even put a poll on Twitter. And by the way, guys, if you want to go follow me on Twitter, you can do that. I'm always posting about movies, always in spaces about movies. Okay. On Fridays, I'm going to be starting Franchise Fridays. Okay. So that means whatever franchise you guys want, or, I'll put it out there. I'm thinking about doing the MCU because there is a lot out there. Okay. Not the Disney Plus stuff, but starting, because the MCU is turning 15 this year. Believe it or not, it's turning 15. There's been over 30 movies. So every single Friday, guys, and I'm going to try and bring a co-host in for a couple of these, but I'm going to be doing Franchise Fridays. So every single Friday, you're going to be getting a new film in that franchise. So just say it's, Star Wars. Okay. Well, maybe that's not a good example because, is it release date or is it, okay, chapter? I don't know. Pick any franchise you think of. Okay. And, could actually sit down and watch them together. And by the way, I'm open to doing pretty much you know, almost anything. So one of the ones I really enjoy that I might do is Saw. So but there's a lot out there. So, anyways, guys. So yeah, starting in a couple weeks is going to be Franchise Fridays. That's brand new. Okay, the reception for this has been fantastic. So, okay, that's going to do it. Thank you for joining me. And so, do the three things that you got to do: be safe, be careful, and have a great weekend, guys. Enjoy it, and I will see everybody on Sunday. I come back here on Sunday, guys, for Ask Me Anything. Okay? And that's going to do it. So have a great day. I'm David Steele, and you have been watching Real Talks. Bye bye, guys.